Walker Fowler opened the 2022 GNCC Series in hopes of clinching his 8th national championship. However, a fresh new crop of young guns are rising to the top, and Bryson Neal took the season-opening win. The big question here now today in round 2 is, can Walker be beat in the sand? GNCC is next.
Are you ready to go? GNCC Racing!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to America's premier off-road racing championship, the 2022 GNCC Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship coming from Palatka, Florida, at the Hogwaller Mud Bogs next to the Rodman Plantation. And, of course, round number 1, as we take a look at the Specialized race recap, we can see it was one that many expected to see with Walker Fowler up front, but the big question was, after an 8.5-month absence of Bryson Neal, would he be a challenge? The biggest challenge early on, though, seemed to be a favored from the old days, the number 3 of Sneaky Snake, Jared McClure, as he latched onto the rear grab bar of Walker Fowler and refused to let go. Meanwhile, back in the number 5 spot, working his way up to the 3rd place position on lap number 2, and following close behind, the battle between Fowler and McClure. Eventually, Bryson Neal was able to get around McClure, then around the number 1 of Walker Fowler, and it became a 2-for-2 battle. Fowler and Neal went at it for the 1st and 2nd place positions. Meanwhile, dropping back about 30 seconds, it was a battle for the final podium spot between the number 3 of Jared McClure and the number 7 of Devin Feehan. When it all came down, 2 of the closest finishes we've seen in GNCC in quite some time, as Walker Fowler and Bryson Neal swapped positions leading up to the final half mile of the race course. When into the closing chicanes, it was Bryson Neal. One last-ditch effort by Walker Fowler, but Bryson Neal took the season-opening win. Fowler took a 2nd place position, while Jared McClure held on for the number 3 spot.
It's been 8.5 months since I raced, and I knew I was in great shape, but I was just, the animosity of all this build-up and all this work to get back to this point. I never even got to race with any of my competitors or ride. I didn't know what my speed was like, and I found out about end of the first lap. I was like, man, I feel good. We're running a good pace. There's a little mistake that happened, and Jared and Walker got some distance on us. I was able to bridge the gap, and when I bridged the gap and I was able to track them down, I was like, all right, we're in this for the long haul, because the track today was super tough to pass, super tough to pass, and I knew that if we could get with them, then my fitness, I could hang on all the way to the end. And Jared, I passed Jared on a hill climb out there, a lapper, got in front of him, I got in the 2nd, and then Walker, we took a split line, and he heard me coming, and he just checked up just enough for me to squeak by right before the FMF or the Racer TV last cameras in the chicane. So, my gosh, Mikey, I feel like I'm talking a lot, man. I'm so pumped, but thank you guys, thank everyone so much, and we're so glad to get this done.
Well, Bryce Neal happy to get it done. Walker Fowler finishing 2nd. Jared McClure in 3rd with Devin Feehan in 4th. And John Glotta Jr. opens the season with the number 5 spot as we head out to round number 2 now. It is here at Palatka, Florida, as we said, the Hogwaller Mud Bogs. And no mud bogs out here today. It's actually been kind of dry around here as we see the green flag wave on this one. And we are off and rolling. And Walker Fowler going to squeak a no. Jared McClure, I believe, is going to get the credit for that hole shot and the early lead as they round that 3rd turn now. Fowler and McClure are off to the races, it looks like, as they begin to stretch things out. McClure holding on to the lead as they enter this first wood section now. As we said, dry and dusty out there, but you'll be surprised when we get in some of these deeper woods. The moisture is held within the ground, and once they dig down into it, it won't be nearly as dusty. Cole Richardson in the number 3 spot. That is Hunter Hart in 4th as we head down to the XC2 Pro-Am, and a look at this one from our Yamaha Skycam. Jay Shadron, by the way, moving up to the XC2 Pro-Am class from the junior class last year after being top amateur and finished in a solid top 10 position in the overall last week. We see another strong start there by Shadron and the crew as they get things off and rolling. Wyatt Wilkin grabbing the hole shot in the early lead as we head into the woods section. Wilkin already starting to stretch things out on the 621 machine. He is going to be a big thorn in the side for Jay Shadron if he hopes for many more wins. There's 15 of Johnny Gallagher. Looks like he might have experienced some troubles off that start, and he's dropped all the way back into the XC2 Pro-Am class already, and that's a tough row to hoe already for Johnny Gallagher, and a big gap opening up back to the number 2 spot where the number 908 of Stevie Harrell sets back there now. He finished 4th in the opening round, and look at this. We've got ourselves a battle up front. McClure still out front, and a split line here. Who's going to come out on top of this one? And a lot of riders going in a lot of different ways, just trying to find some sort of an advantage out there. Jared McClure had the lead going into this split. Will he have it coming out as Walker Fowler went to the left, McClure went to the right, and I have to tend to think that right line might have been the better line there, but Walker Fowler had to try something. Things are tight here in the sands of Florida. The gloves are off. Stick around. Coverage of the Grand National Cross Country Championship on MAV TV is brought to you in part by Specialized E-Turbo Bikes. It's you, only faster. And by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. Biggest part of GNCC racing is made up by amateur and youth riders throughout the course of the weekends. And, of course, to kick things off on Saturday mornings are always our micro riders and, of course, our youth ATV riders. And we had a great battle going on again this season to kick things off. It continued into round number 2 with Caden Spires, Cole Likens, Cody Whitaker, Levi Strawler, Wyatt Kerfman, Bryce Poole, and Jordan Burge, and Landon Kaesler, just to name a few. In the end, it came down to Spires, Likens, and Whitaker. They were just a few seconds apart, but it was Caden Spires taking the win in the end, at his 2nd of the season.
Yeah, it wasn't the best start. I think I was 7th going into the woods. Just made passes last lap. He got stuck with some lappers, and I went out around him and got the lead, but it was a fun race.
Caden Spires trying to make a statement with his 2nd win of the 2022 season. Cole Likens coming up with the number 2 spot. Cody Whitaker in 3rd. Levi Strawler was 4th. Wyatt Kerfman rounded out your top 5. And as we head back out onto the course, it is still Jared McClure out of Casca, Pennsylvania, leading this one on board one of the few Hondas. I believe he and Adam McGill may be the only 2 riders still racing Hondas. There's Walker Fowler back in the number 2 position. You have to think that this dust may be keeping these riders separated a little bit. Back to the number 3 spot now, Cole Richardson with the number 2 of Hunter Hart in the number 4 spot. Rounding out your top 5, that is the number 6 of Josh Merritt. Merritt getting off to a pretty solid start here at the 2nd round of racing. A little further back, a battle for the number 6 spot between Chris Borich and John Glotto Jr. And here comes the number 241 of Bryson Neal, not getting off to a solid start, doesn't look like here today. So he's going to have his hands full, and he's got company coming in as well as our leaders now approach the Monster Mile here on lap number 1. It is still Jared McClure out front of Walker Fowler. Fowler trying to maybe sneak a little closer to the inside, trying to get around, but doesn't make anything happen. McClure looks around to see what he's trying to do, and then we see also a little pass taking place there as we've got a new 3rd place ride. That is the number 2 of Hunter Hart. I don't know what happened to Cole Richardson there, but he got a little out of shape, and Hart was able to get around. Back up front, though, the battle still wages on between the number 3 and the number 1. And what intensity here on lap number 1 as they are trying to break away from the rest of the field, it looks like. They're going 2 by 2, and these front 4 really seem to be starting to stretch things out a little bit. You have to wonder if that is going to maybe be a problem there for the 241 of round 1 winner, Bryson Neal, who answered a lot of questions after round number 1, but here in the sands of Florida, we know this is Walker Fowler's domain, but even Walker being challenged by other riders, but Bryson Neal so far hasn't been able to be a challenger. And finally, Fowler out front. We see he's gotten around the number 3 of Jared McClure as they splash through some of the only water on the racetrack right now. And Hunter Hart has joined the battle as well as he's making a 3-way battle. And here comes your 4th place ride, the 733 of Cole Richardson. Richardson appears to have someone close behind him and charging hard as well now. Back in that number 5 ride is the 241 of Bryson Neal. Neal still a little ways back as Fowler is trying to stretch this one out and put as much distance between himself and everyone, including Bryson Neal, as possible. And already it looks like that Walker Fowler is doing just exactly that as Hunter Hart emerges now into the number 2 spot as he has gotten around the number 3 of Jared McClure. McClure dropping back to about a 6th place position as we see now that Cole Richardson running 4th. That is Bryson Neal in the number 5 position as these riders continue to swap positions back and forth. They've closed back up on Walker Fowler, and the number 3 McClure emerges in this section in the number 2 spot with Hunter Hart back into the number 3 spot. There is still the 733 of Cole Richardson. What happened to Bryson Neal? He's got some more ground to make up as he drops back a little further now in the number 5 position. And a little further down the trail, Walker Fowler has now moved himself out into a solid 1st place position. We're starting to see that gap open up. It is near 10 seconds as the new 2nd place ride emerging is that number 241 of Bryson Neal. Neal has moved from 5th into the number 2 spot. And what a crazy day we're seeing as these riders are all over the place playing yo-yo, it seems like, back and forth. Hunter Hart still in the number 3 spot as he's looking at a podium. There is still the 733 of Cole Richardson. The Cole Train's trying to hold on and maybe gain a podium position. As we roll through the FMF PowerPoint here, there's Walker Fowler now starting to establish a little bit of a dominance here on this lap. We saw him a lap ago near this section. It was a lot tighter on the other side, and things have opened up at least between 1st and 2nd. It looks as though things might be tighter to 2nd and 3rd, 3rd and 4th, 4th and 5th. Here comes the battle for 2nd. That is Neal. That is the number 2 of Hunter Hart now. And Neal not feeling a lot of pressure from Hunter Hart, but Hunter is certainly keeping a very close eye of what's taking place. Meanwhile, the 241 of Bryson Neal has laid chase to the 7-time GNCC champion, the number 1 of Walker Fowler, and seeing a little bit of that gap starting to close, but a bigger gap starting to open up to the number 3 position as a battle is starting to wage back there. Out near the 12-mile marker now, Walker Fowler seeming to open up about a 10-second lead and gap over the number 241 of Bryson Neal. But that gap back to the number 3 position, which is now being battled between now new 3rd place ride Cole Richardson and the number 2 of Hunter Hart in that number 4 position. So a little bit of a change back there. And we're seeing that gap open up to about a minute or better at this particular juncture in the race. Look at that. Another battle going on back there as John Galata Jr. is trying to break into a top 5 ride himself on the 712. And Devin Feehan is as well trying to keep up with the top 5 position as things have really gotten crazy. A lot of position swaps today, but these two right here are really laying down some lap times as they are continually stretching things out. A little over a minute lead over the 3rd place position now as we work our way here just past the halfway point of this 2nd round of GNCC racing, and things are starting to settle in as far as what this race is starting to look like. Walker Fowler going to the right side of this line this time around, and Neal goes left. Not a lot lost, not a lot gained by either one of those riders going either section through there. So we saw that happen on lap number 1 with Walker Fowler, and Jared McClure wasn't able to make the pass on him. Though most of these riders tend to be going to that right side. It's Cole Richardson still back at that number 4 spot. There's Galata now. John Galata Jr. has solidified that number 5 position. It looks like he may be going after the number 4 spot on the 733 machine. Meanwhile, the front 2 here are continuing to stretch things out. We are looking at a 1.5-minute lead as we roll through this lap of racing now, and our riders near the completion of another lap and looking for the white flag here at this Wild Boar GNCC, the sandiest terrain on the circuit. Now, Camp Coker's a pretty sandy one, but it's got a lot of clay in it. This is the sands of Florida, and you don't see a whole lot like this anywhere you go on the tour. Walker Fowler trains down here in this sand all winter long. And, of course, with that being said, he has what seems like a slight advantage over riders like Well, this rider right here, Devin Feehan out of New York, who seems to have gotten a little bit out of shape on that one, regains composure to hang on to it and try to reel in these riders a little bit more for a bit of a battle. He's dropped back a little bit as far as this battle is concerned. We're out near the 7-mile marker. That is Walker Fowler starting to see a little bit of breathing room opening up between himself and the 241 of Bryson Neal. Now, Neal has a big comfort zone of about 2 minutes back to that third place position as well. So things are really stretching out here, and Walker Fowler is looking like he is going to remain undefeated in the sands of Florida here at the Hog Waller. Will anyone rise to the occasion? Stick around. Coverage of the Grand National Cross Country Championship on MAV TV is brought to you in part by Specialized E-Turbo Bikes. It's you, only faster. And by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. The strength of a nation is measured by the strength of the youth. And of course, GNCC Racing has a lot in youth racing, starting all the way back down into the 1-year-olds with our Stacyc Stability Cycle Racing, brought to you by your friends at Stacyc and KTM. Every Saturday night, the families come out in droves with the little guys and gals as they all go head-to-head in a battle of competition and will, as these riders learn and hone the skills of racing well before they ever hit a real big racetrack. But to these guys, it's as big as they get as they come to the Nationals to take the win and hear the fans' cheers as they make their way around these specifically designed race courses for these little guys to come out and give it a try and be a part of the show. Thanks to our friends at KTM and, of course, Stacyc Stability Cycles and all the families of GNCC Racing for coming out and supporting this every Saturday night in the GNCC Racing Nation. Gotta have that helmet on, buddy. Griff Cotter gives you the call each and every night there, and of course it's always a joy and a pleasure for everyone involved. Back to the racing action here at the Hog Waller and the Wild Boar GNCC. In the closing moments, it's Walker Fowler out front, but his gap has been bridged by the 241 and season-opening winner, Bryson Neal, right on the rear grab bar of Walker Fowler. There's your third-place position now. The number 7 of Devin Feehan. He is nearly 4 minutes back as he tries to lay chase to the rest of the field up front. Behind him, a torrid battle going on between the 733 of Cole Richardson and the 712 of John Glada Jr. as these riders dice it out for the 4th and 5th place positions. But up front, it's all about the 241 and the number 1 as Walker Fowler does it here in the sands of Florida, remains undefeated and takes another win. Bryson Neal will finish up in second as these two riders go to round number 3. They will be tied in championship points, but Walker Fowler feels like he's got the edge and the advantage heading to Georgia, and we know both these riders are going to be hungry for the win there. Wow, what a day. Fowler comes out on top, Neal in second, and all the way back 4 minutes and 9 seconds in third was Devin Feehan. Let's catch up with our round 2 champ.
It's going to be a good year. We're both riding phenomenal. I don't think there's two guys that can go faster. So it's funny how racing progresses, how the machines progress, how different our bikes are, and how different our riding styles are, and how close and serious the racing can be, and it's just impressive, honestly. I know how much I elevated my game, knowing that you know, everyone was going to be strong this year, and obviously Bryson, you know, I knew he was going to pretty much be him and Hunter. I'm still, you know, we're still looking for him to kind of have his breakout, but you know, I know what I got to do, and it's going to be tough every week. A big mistake by either guy, it could, you know, open the door for a bigger race, but, or, you know, a bigger lead or a bigger win, but you know, it's going to come down to those last 2 corners every weekend, I think, and that's what racing needs. And man, we're racing is healthy, and the racing is fun, and it's freaking badass, man. I'm having fun.
Walker is right, without a doubt. It's been some of the stiffest competition we've seen in quite some time to open up the first 2 rounds of the 2022 season.
today was the hottest day I've rode in or even walked around in all winter long. My training, I've been in Ohio all winter, so it was definitely hot on me today. And on the start, I got a pretty good jump, but Walker got on the inside, and I kind of got pushed wide, and I got sucked up in the pack. And man, it was so dusty that first lap that I couldn't see the ground. I was just ping-balling off roots. I had a death grip on the bars. It was hard to see, and I used a lot of energy the first lap and a half trying to get to the front. On the last lap, we were at the pit section. We was able to get close to Walker. We tucked in behind him. He was rolling good, getting into a good flow. And on the last lap, he was doing a really good job getting around lappers. And one lapper just couldn't get off the track all the way. Got a little sideways. Walker got out of sight, and I was like, oh man, I might not see him again. We was about halfway through the lap, and we's hot, and just trying to bring this thing home and try not to make no mistakes. And we got close to him there again at the end, and we was able to suck up to his rear bar, but make it interesting coming to the finish line. But we're just pumped, for Ohio boy to be riding in 35 degrees, bundled up all winter long, and to come down here on this hot day and go toe to toe and really show some good fitness. We're pumped, we're happy, we're beyond belief, and we're just going to keep this thing going forward, keep the wheels glued on, and see you guys at Georgia.
Well, exciting day today, no doubt about it, as Walker Fowler and Bryson Neal finished nose to tail about 4 minutes and 9 seconds ahead of Devin Feehan, who had a little bit of a gap back to John Glotta and Cole Richardson battling for 4th and 5th. Let's check in with Devin.
Yeah, that start was a little sketchy on my part. That was my bad. I didn't do it intentionally, but yeah, it's just everybody's aggressive fighting position. There wasn't many lines out there, and everybody knew that. So, GBC tires, B&R Motorsports, whole shot system got me off to a great start, but I quickly threw that away. Had to come from a serious dig, and I pushed really hard. Everybody was riding good, and I knew it was going to be tough, but a lot of guys were making mistakes, and I just pounced on that, and man, I feel really good. It's always awesome to get a podium. Like I said, when I'm out there and I can get in that position, I fight for it and get everything I got, because I know everybody's doing the same. So, super awesome day. Thank you, guys.
And a big thanks to Devin Feehan and all of our GNCC racing faithfuls. They put on one whale of a show here today, and it all started out just like this. An elbow-to-elbow, wheel-to-wheel battle through the first couple of turns, and early on, Jared McClure taking the lead with Walker Fowler back in that number 2 position. It looked as though, the number 241, Bryson Neal, had gotten buried a little further back in the pack, so it took him a little while to get up through the pack. And once he did, he began to pick riders off one by one to lay chase to Walker Fowler, where he could never really put a lot of pressure on him. The gap really started to open up about the midway point when we saw it just over 2 minutes, and at the end of lap number 4, it had opened up to 4 minutes and 9 seconds back to the 3rd place position. So Feehan just basically had to maintain that 3rd place position and keep in front of the 733 of Cole Richardson and the 712 of John Glotta, while these two went to, well, basically war, especially in that final lap of racing whenever Bryson Neal was able to reel him in and got a good glimpse of what Walker Fowler was able to make happen here in these closing moments of the race. And coming into this one, everyone knew that it was going to be tough to beat Walker Fowler in the sands of Florida, as he is yet to be defeated at the Hog Waller. But back in that number 3 position, as we said, Devin Feehan was able to maintain and hold on to 3rd. But there's where a lot of fun was to watch, is if you like to watch racing, a position swapping going on between the 733 and the 712 of Glotta and Cole Richardson. But up front, it was Walker Fowler taking win number 70 in his career and pushing closer and closer to the all-time wins record of 75 held by Chris Borich. That's going to wrap things up from the Hog Waller GNCC. I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.